Working with Phil is very difficult because I guess he's a perfectionist, so he likes to spend a lot of time redoing things and re-listening, and it's very time-consuming. It becomes very hard for, I mean, rock and roll is going to be spontaneous and done a little faster.
I like beauty to be instant, you know, not to be labored over, and I don't like music to be a hustle. You know, I think we can adequately go into a studio and do it and not just be frustrated, and Phil seemed to be frustrated with us.
I think he's frustrated with himself, really.
He wasn't the most friendly guy I've ever met. He tried to be friends, but then he had a guns on him, and he wouldn't let me out of his house for a couple days, and you know, he wouldn't let. And then if he said, if you want to play his pinball machine, he'd let you play it for a minute, and then he'd say, okay, everybody to another room. And I never met anyone like him, and I hope you know.
Now, he's just too difficult to work with, and it's too costly and time-consuming, and in the 1980s. You know, you can't spend, I mean, the opening chord to a song of Rock and Roll High School, he spent 12 hours sitting there listening to that same chord over and over again. I mean, it's just not worth it. And nobody else could hear the difference. The chord came out sounding okay, but 12 hours worth ain't really worth it, you know? You just go crazy. You would be as crazy as him if we worked with him. Times have changed, and most producers from the mid-'60s haven't really grown with the changes. They're not able to do what producers now can do. There's a new modern sound, and he doesn't have it.
No.
His time's passed. We wanted to work with Phil because I mean, the guy is a legend, and we thought it'd be a very good idea to work with a legend. And you never know when it be his last project. And plus, we didn't really know how difficult it is to work with the guy before we stepped into it. We found out.
You know, like when before I wanted to work with him 100%, and I was gung-ho for the project, but he came off differently. He seemed more positive and more able. And when I got into the studio, I found him to be like a helpless little boy or something, like a very helpless person. He didn't know what to do. And that just stifles creativity when you just hang around in agony and frustration and stomp your foot and say, oh, what are we going to do? And all. You know, that doesn't bring out anything in anybody.
I guess faced with the project, he was very enthused. And then when she gets to that all of a sudden now it's the time, I guess then he must get a bit nervous about that all of a sudden it's getting near the time where he has to put out a project which is going to be criticized.
He seemed like a man.
Then, you know, then it becomes very hard. It gets harder and harder for him to finish the project from the time at pre-production.
He seemed like a man walking his last mile doing our record, you know, that grim.